The United States and United States Forces Korea have recently highlighted the Korean Peninsula as a strategic center, not just out of national pride. Since the era of the new Cold War began, the Korean Peninsula has become a region from which China can be struck more quickly and accurately, so the value of the Korean Peninsula is gradually increasing. United States Forces Korea shared notable photos, a Northeast Asia map with the Korean Peninsula centered and the map upside down. Today, let's take a proper look at this part. Let's get right into it. Before we begin, it seems that 70% of viewers still haven't subscribed. I would really appreciate it if you could just hit the subscribe button once. I'm asking you like this. Xavier Brunson, Commander of United States Forces Korea and the Republic of Korea, United States Combined Forces Command, said on November 17 that South Korea's location is a strategic advantage, not a vulnerability, and that the stationed forces are the most effective deterrent. Commander Brunson illustrated the Korean Peninsula's importance by displaying a map with the north and south flipped. The map showed straight-line distances from the United States base in Pyeongtaek to Taiwan, Manila, Beijing, Tokyo, and Pyongyang. Pyongyang is 255 kilometers away, Beijing 985 kilometers, and Vladivostok just 691 kilometers. Commander Brunson said Korea is now a natural strategic hub. Since early this year, under Commander Brunson's orders, United States Forces Korea have used this map internally for education. As shown on the map, Taiwan and the Philippines are more prominent than North Korea. Mainly due to its proximity to China, it's seen as the best place to keep China in check. For example, Commander Brunson compared Korea to an unsinkable aircraft carrier floating between Japan and China in May 2025. He went on to say that Korea has the ability to deter the entry of the Russian fleet from the east of the Korean Peninsula, while at the same time keeping China's activities in check from the west. He also explained about the strategic flexibility of the United States Forces Korea. Until then, United States Forces Korea had only focused on North Korea. Recently, United States Forces Korea has stressed strategic flexibility, noting that threats in the Indo-Pacific are evolving across multiple areas, domains, and boundaries. In fact, they've mentioned several times the possibility of utilizing the United States Forces Korea in the event of a Taiwan invasion. Currently, the United States Forces Korea is continuing to expand its role. After the South Korea-United States Security Consultative Meeting, Secretary of Defense Pete G.S. confirmed United States Forces Korea will remain flexible in regional contingencies. And in the joint statement released on the same day, the phrase about maintaining the current level of United States Forces Korea, which was included every year, was omitted. Inside and outside the military, some interpret this as a signal that the United States is moving away from an army-centered deployment focused on defending the Korean Peninsula and is considering a multi-layered force structure that includes the Navy and Air Force. Frankly, now isn't the time for neutrality. Prioritizing United States security and China's economy as before is no longer possible. In an era where the confrontation between the United States and China is intensifying, if we try to take a neutral stance, we could end up being abandoned by both sides. The United States is considering a new deterrent strategy with South Korea and United States Forces Korea to create a trilateral force against North Korea, China, and Russia, not just China. They plan deterrence operations from the Korean Peninsula, covering the East Sea, West Sea, Japan, and the Philippines. Ultimately, this suggests that United States Forces Korea may be reorganized into a structure capable of operating effectively throughout the entire Northeast Asia region. In fact, there are ongoing discussions that United States Forces Korea will reduce its ground forces, which currently make up the majority, while increasing naval and air forces that can play a role in a Taiwan contingency, and deploying multi-domain task forces, thereby adjusting its overall force structure and roles. If Taiwan is invaded, United States Forces Korea would likely send naval and air forces faster than the army, so they seem to be preparing for that. The plan is to increase naval and air forces and deploy them directly to Taiwan. Of course, from South Korea's perspective, the expanding role of United States Forces Korea may feel burdensome. Until now, United States Forces Korea have focused on deterring North Korean provocations and maintaining stability on the Korean Peninsula, and Korean society has viewed United States Forces Korea only within that framework. Now, the role the United States demands is on a whole new level. It has grown from the Korean Peninsula to a strategic axis over Northeast Asia and the Indo-Pacific region. We are now directly helping to keep China in check, so Korea's burden will naturally increase. However, the problem is that we have already moved on to a different stage in this era. Before the 2010s, Korea maintained balance by boosting economic and cultural exchanges with China. Back then, China was cautious in foreign relations, and its expansion toward Taiwan was less obvious than it is now. Korea managed to stay friendly with China while maintaining its alliance with the United States. However, that structure has now collapsed. China has shifted from quiet growth to actively using military power in nearby seas. The South China Sea is already sinicized, and China is expanding influence in the West Sea by building artificial structures. China's recent expansion of territorial waters by building artificial structures in the West Sea appears to directly warn South Korea. For South Korea, this is more than a maritime dispute. Its strategic space is threatened. If United States forces in Korea focus solely on North Korea, it puts South Korea at a disadvantage. The fact that the United States' perspective on South Korea has changed means that it now values South Korea's strategic importance more highly, and this also means that South Korea is being incorporated as a key nation in the United States Indo-Pacific framework. If you consider why the United States approved nuclear submarines for South Korea before Japan, it's clear. Times have changed, so South Korea must adapt. Balancing and shifting distance between the two great powers, as before, is now far less realistic. With China increasing pressure and the United States seeking clarity, staying neutral risks losing trust from both sides. So, in the current structure, the most realistic and practical benefit that South Korea can gain is the diplomatic and security advantages that come when the United States recognizes South Korea as a key partner. If United States forces in Korea become more valuable, South Korea can strengthen its security and maintain its stance even under pressure from China and Russia. This means that South Korea will have more room to make its own choices. Ultimately, the current international environment is an era in which South Korea cannot remain in the past. Change is already happening before our eyes, and where South Korea positions itself within this change will determine the next 10 years. The main reason for the changing strategic role of United States forces Korea is that China's military actions are now becoming real, not just a concern for neighbors. China has often declared its intent to unify Taiwan by force, with more Chinese military aircraft and warships active near Taiwan. If this trend continues, conflict could erupt any time in the South China Sea or Taiwan Strait. From the United States perspective, the forces that can respond immediately are ultimately the United States troops stationed in Japan and South Korea, already deployed in the Western Pacific. The United States forces in Japan can quickly shift operations because the agreement structure with the Japanese government is very solid, but it's a bit different for the United States forces in South Korea. They need the consent of the Korean government, and this process can take anywhere from a few hours to several days. These variables slow United States strategic speed, and in time-sensitive areas like the Taiwan Strait, this could be a major issue. That's why it is interpreted that the United States is signaling an intention to shift the role of United States Forces Korea from a force dedicated solely to the Korean Peninsula to a broader East Asian force. The goal is to keep emergency response capability on the Korean Peninsula, while allowing faster force deployment to places like Taiwan or the South China Sea if needed. This change also needs strategic judgment from South Korea. There is the burden that the United States may increase its operational demands, but on the other hand, there is also the opportunity that America's security umbrella could expand, and South Korea could establish itself as a key country in the overall security structure of the Indo-Pacific region. This movement reflects changes in China's behavior and shows that as the United States updates its alliance structure for possible conflicts, United States forces Korea are getting new roles. If we look a little deeper into the tangible benefits that South Korea can gain, the picture becomes clearer. The fact that the United States values the Korean Peninsula highly and is moving to expand the strategic role of United States forces Korea is likely to bring very tangible rewards to South Korea as well. A key example is nuclear submarine cooperation. The United States backed South Korea's nuclear submarine program before Japan's because South Korea is seen as a crucial force for stability in the Western Pacific, not just as a diplomatic move. If this structure becomes solidified, South Korea will be able to secure a cooperative framework with the United States that is close to a joint operational system throughout the entire process of building nuclear submarine capabilities. Areas such as fuel supply, maintenance support, nuclear propulsion, and safety technology can in fact be advanced to a stage of constant cooperation. If such a structure is established, the operational range of the South Korean Navy will change completely, and for the United States, it will provide a foundation to utilize the South Korean Navy as a key partner in managing the entire Pacific together. And after the complete removal of missile range restrictions, the development of South Korea's long-range strike capabilities will inevitably accelerate as it aligns more closely with the United States' strategic framework. If the United States views South Korea as key to its regional strategy, South Korea will rapidly advance in long-range cruise missiles, medium-range ballistic missiles, and hypersonic technology. If the United States shares tracking, satellite, and aviation technology, South Korea will gain long-range precision strike abilities, joining a select group in Asia. This isn't just a military boost, it also means China and Russia can no longer ignore South Korea. As South Korea deepens cooperation with the United States, its security guarantees strengthen and its independent military capability increases. The United States must boost South Korea's power to pressure China, so South Korea's strategic autonomy will expand significantly. This structure is highly likely to result in South Korea securing an unprecedented level of diplomatic flexibility and security certainty compared to the past. And as the role that the United States expects from South Korea grows, the tangible benefits that South Korea gains are also increasing proportionally. This trend has already begun. There is no more neutrality. What are your thoughts on the expanded United States military role in Korea? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's it for this video. Thank you.